What's up, guys? It's Wholesome Joe, and I didn't think I was going to have to talk about this, but here we are. So, a lot of you may know, if you are paying attention to the news lately, that the Writers Guild of America and the Screen Actors Guild, SAG-AFTRA, is currently on strike. They are asking for better working conditions, higher wages for both the writers and the actors. They're looking for better working conditions just in general across the board, and they've gone on strike. Now, this video is not about the specifics of that as a whole, because you can go to the SAG-AFTRA website and look up all of the details as far as why they're on strike and all of that stuff. So basically, if you want to get just a general synopsis of it, is that because of the new streaming platform, the way the streaming platform landscape is now for film and TV, a lot of the networks and things are streaming. So the way the residuals and the payment works for streaming platforms, the contracts were created in such a way that the people at the very, very, very top make a crap ton of money, and then all of the people down at the bottom only make a little bit. And it's been that way for a while. And I'm not going to go into the super specifics of that, because that's basically the gist of it. The people at the top are making a crap ton of money. They don't want to stop making a crap ton of money, but they don't want anyone else to make any money, or they don't want everyone working on those projects to get a fair share of the pie. Now they've gone as far as to say they're going to try to use the new AI stuff to create likenesses of people, so they only have to pay them one time to use their image and their likeness forever, which is just absolutely absurd. But that's not specifically what we're here to talk about today. What I want to talk about today is how all of this relates to indie filmmakers like me, perhaps yourself, as well as something else that I also do on this channel, which is cosplay stuff. So you may have seen some posts on the internet talking about what you can and cannot do if you are a SAG-AFTRA member, and in some cases they're even saying that if you're going to, or you're going to want to be a SAG-AFTRA member at some point, perhaps you should not do some of these things. And basically there's lists on the SAG-AFTRA website of the projects and types of things that you can, or as it were, cannot work on or be part of in order to not cross the picket lines for the strike. Now, I want to say straight out of the gate that I support SAG-AFTRA. I am not a SAG-AFTRA member. I have worked on some SAG-AFTRA projects during my career, not many, because honestly, most of us don't work on that many. And I don't think a lot of people realize, a lot of, your average consumers don't realize that most of the actors in these projects and movies that you see aren't the 1% that are making millions and millions of dollars. They're working maybe 1 or 2 days a year. Sometimes maybe they'll work on a half a dozen projects a year if they're lucky. I've had years go by where I didn't book anything. So those are the majority of the people that you're going to see. That those are the people who are, hurting the worst, because you have to actually make quite a bit of money to even be able to be eligible to get the benefits from SAG-AFTRA. If you're a member, you have to pay dues and all of that stuff. So it's kind of difficult, and they already don't get paid enough. So I think, and this may have changed now, but I think the a day rate for a SAG actor is somewhere in the $1,000-ish. It's a little bit more than that, but it's somewhere in there. You can look it up on the SAG-AFTRA website, and I'm going to keep saying that because everyone keeps posting things and keeps, sharing misinformation. If you want to get the accurate, up-to-date answers about what is going on with the SAG-AFTRA strike, go to the SAG-AFTRA website. Don't read people's posts on Facebook or Instagram or any of that other nonsense where this person has said, got it from this person, and this person has shared this from this person. Go to the SAG-AFTRA website. Cool. So as far as how it pertains to this video and it pertains to filmmakers, one of the things I've seen is that now the union is saying that if you are a non-union filmmaker, and let me go back and say that I don't have sources to confirm, which is why I say you should go to the SAG-AFTRA website and read this. If it's not there, then it's probably not true, or it's not entirely true. But what I am seeing is that they are saying that if you are an independent content creator or an independent filmmaker, and one of these struck networks or companies comes to you wanting to buy your content, that if you sell your content to said struck company, then you are crossing the picket line. And for a lot of us, having a Netflix or Warner Brothers or Sony or any of these companies come to us and be like, oh man, I really want your stuff and I want to pay you a lot of money for it and blah, blah, blah. That's a huge deal for most of us, and something that most of us will never see. And it's really difficult because as a filmmaker, you're trying to find your way in and find your big break, as it were. And what they're saying is that if you do that, you are going to be crossing the picket line, and that it will end up backfiring anyway because you're going to be sort of blackballed by the union. Because when they find out you crossed the picket line, you're just going to have a lot of other issues that you got to deal with. So that puts us in a really tough situation, because while I want to be able to do that, I want my movie to be seen by as many people as possible, and everyone dreams of having their stuff on Netflix. I don't know any filmmaker that wouldn't jump at the chance to have something on Netflix. But the problem is while they're on strike, it creates a problem because you would be crossing the picket line if you did do that. Now, where does that leave us? Kind of sucks, because I have a project that I've been working on for almost 5 years, and I've basically been sitting on it because I can't do anything with it. Now I'm being told I still can't do anything with it, even though we're near the end of actually getting it out there, and now we have this strike going on. And so most of this doesn't apply if you're non-union. This really only applies if you're a member of SAG-AFTRA, but it can affect you down the line later, especially if you are someone who's trying to build your reputation. You don't want people to find out that you crossed the picket line and all that good stuff. But as it pertains to my film in particular, we were going through Film Hub, which I already made a video about. And the way Film Hub works is that it connects you with streaming platforms. Now, I'm pretty sure that some of the struck platforms or companies are on Film Hub. So, because that's basically all of them. There's very few that aren't considered a struck company right now. So, if you submitted your film to Film Hub, technically you would be crossing the picket line. So I don't really know what to do right now. We're still pushing forward with our DVD release and all that good stuff, but it kind of just puts everybody in a bad position, because it's those opportunities aren't going to come under normal circumstances. Sony's not going to be like, hey, Joe, I really like your movie, The Marks. We'd love to release it. But because they're desperate, or because they're going to become desperate, because they won't be able to make new content. This happened during COVID, and it's a lot of people are like, oh, it's not going to happen. It happened during COVID. AMC Theaters was asking for independent films because they didn't have anything to show, because the studios were shut down and studios weren't making anything. So they were asking for independent films. We submitted ours. It didn't get picked, but it is happening, and it's probably going to happen. So as a content creator, I'm over here going, well, if Sony Pictures contacts me and says they love my movie and want to give me, X amount of money for it, that's probably a situation that's never going to come again. And my question is, how do I get those deals without crossing the picket line? Because it just seems like we lose no matter what we do. And going back to what I was saying at the beginning of the video, how this relates to cosplay as well. Word on the street is that they're basically saying that cosplay is promoting struck work, and that's not true. Essentially, what they're saying when they say that a SAG-AFTRA member can't promote a past work. It means that if, say, let's just use Sony as an example, because I like Ghostbusters, and sometimes I go to Ghostbusters. I go to conventions, and sometimes I dress as a Ghostbuster. But if I buy a ticket to a convention, and I dress up as a Ghostbuster at that convention, and I walk around the convention floor hanging out with my friends and, talking to people and just generally just being an attendee at the convention, I'm not crossing the picket line. However, if Sony contacted me specifically and said, Joseph, or the group that I'm in, and said, hey, we want a couple of people to dress up as Ghostbusters and stand at our booth at, SpookCon or whatever, and promote the new Ghostbusters movie, and in exchange for that, we'll give you free tickets to the new movie, or we'll pay you X amount of dollars, or whatever the case is, and you're going to be an official promotional person at a convention, and you're representing Sony and promoting Ghostbusters, then yes, you are crossing the picket line. But for the vast majority of us who are just going to a convention and dressing up in a costume, this does not apply to you. So don't get all worked up about it. Don't go on Facebook and make a million posts in the convention groups, because it doesn't apply to you. Dress up as whatever you want. Beetlejuice, Ninja Turtles, Power Rangers, Iron Man, Marvel, it doesn't matter. If you're just going to the convention as an attendee, that doesn't apply to you. It is not that broad. And I don't care what other posts you've seen. I don't care what other videos you've seen. It is not that broad. The only way you would be crossing the picket line is if you are hired or are acting as an official spokesperson. Because I've seen some kind of, I guess, semi-famous cosplayers that have large amounts of followers on Instagram. The companies will hire them to come dress up as whatever character at their premiere event or something. I've seen people go to the Spider-Man premieres and things dressed as Spider-Man or Spider-Gwen or whatever, and they hired them specifically to do that because they have a lot of followers on Instagram. Those people, if they are members of SAG-AFTRA, they are crossing the picket line if they do that. Because they are directly promoting a project from a struck company. But for the vast majority of us who are just going to a convention, paying for a ticket, and dressing up in our favorite costume for our favorite movie as our favorite character, it does not apply to you. So don't worry about it. Just go and have fun. So I don't want to keep this video too long. It's probably already too long. Hope you enjoyed listening to me ramble. If you have any questions, have any thoughts, have any feelings about this whole SAG-AFTRA Writers Guild strike, I have a lot of them. I'd love to discuss them in the comments. I don't want to keep rambling and make this video too long, so I'm going to cut it there. But I love to hear from you. Thanks for watching my videos. Till next time.